Hey there, guys, and welcome to another Factorio Friday Facts discussion. I'm Xterminator, and thank you for joining me. Number 300 Special Edition. And Flixine is not with us today. We had some scheduling issues, mostly on my end. But this one's quite different. So it's Friday Facts 300 Friday Facts in a row. And for this one, it's really interesting. All the devs basically answer these questions and kind of just give a bio about themselves, which is really cool. Now, I'm not going to read the whole thing for every single one because that would be pretty dry and it would take forever. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to touch on some things I kind of found interesting about some of them and stuff. And this is one, I know a lot of you watch these videos of mine on the Friday Facts ones, so you don't have to read it or just in place of reading or whatever. But this is one where it really is best if you want like all the details to just go read it and learn about the devs. But I will cover some cool stuff if you kind of just want a little bit of information here and there. So they were asked to answer these questions. What were your favorite games growing up? Video games. What do you do before Factorio? What do you do in the team? What's your favorite part of Factorio? Anything else is important about you? So first off, we start off with Kovorix, who's the founder, obviously, game designer, developer, and approver. So his favorite games are Baldur's Gate, StarCraft, Civilization, XCOM, They Are Billions, Homam 3, Half-Life 2, Fallout 1/2, Superplex, and Baba Is You. Definitely a good variety of games here. I've only played like 2 of these, but I know of most of them. They're really good games. So basically, he encountered programming really young and just like fell in love with it, which is pretty cool. And they touched on this in another Friday Facts. Factorio was not his first game that he worked on. He actually did a text-based RPG, which is pretty cool, a Civ-like game, and a StarCraft-like game. And I'm actually a little bit interested here because I've played some text-based RPGs. Okay, that's pretty cool. Yeah, so then I think he talked about the StarCraft game in another Friday Facts at one point. And in games, he's mostly focused on progression, exploration of the game mechanics, and optimizing them to become overpowered and solving things in a way that is somewhat specific to him. So his favorite parts of Factorio are tied to obviously the progression, when the new tech allows me to progress faster, like bots and such, and when old, improved parts of the factory are replaced by specialized and better organized high production facilities. Factorio's been in the making for 7 years. He basically had to do everything on his own to begin with because he was the only person working on it. But now his role has become more of kind of like a supervisor approver where people send him their changes and ideas and he goes, I thought this was something on my screen. I just like hit my screen trying to get rid of it. But yeah, where he just like, people give them, their additions and ideas and he approves or disapproves them, making sure that they're really quality things that go into the game. And it's been going on for such a long time that he managed to get married and have 3 kids in the meantime. His interests outside of the computer world are mainly paragliding, board games, Lego, RC toys, Go, and playing the piano. Really, really great hobbies. I like all these. Moving on to Thomas. Thomas was another one of the first members of the team. And his favorite games are Age of Empires 2, Civilization, Warcraft 2, and Operation Flashpoint Q. All good games again. And he studied informatics. I don't even actually know what that is. Charles University in Prague. He did some freelance jobs and stuff. And basically, as the company grew in Factorio, he's moved to a more executive position, doing less coding and more organizing the work of other people. Yeah, so he was like he said he joined Kovorix very early on. So he was like one of the first, along with Kovorix. And for him, the favorite part of Factorio has always been the mini game of trying to fit production lines into limited, usually uneven area. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. And then Albert, their main art director, graphic designer, when he was a kid, he was mesmerized by the graphics in video games. I can definitely relate to that. And even now, graphics in video games are a very big thing for me. that just like controlling a character in the TV was magic. He started his career destroying my hand playing with an old Atari, Pac-Man, Pitfall, Space Invaders. He got blind playing anything in my beloved MSX, 8-bit computer, special love to Batman and Head Over Heels, Penguin Adventure, Nemesis R-Type. I peeled my thumbs with the buttons on the NES playing Super Mario Bros. 1 and 3, Blades of Steel, Skate or Die. all these games. Actually, a lot of these I haven't heard of. Quake, obviously, Doom, Half-Life. And before getting to Factorio, he was in the studio Glasnost, creating experimental audio visuals in real time with Lazol, our own mod for Counter-Strike, which is pretty cool. Now in Wube, he's in charge of art development, responsible for aesthetics of Factorio, designing sprites, conceptualizing 3D modeling, animating, coordinating people, and stuff like that, which is pretty cool. Drinks lots of coffee, too. And then we have Twinsen. Pretty much a typical nerd. He graduated computer science from Romania in 2013. After that, he had no shortage of job opportunities. He worked on many small games and stuff like that. And then basically, in one of the posts, they mentioned how they were hiring Factorio. Even though he'd never used C++ outside of school, he never touched Lua, I decided to relearn C++ over the course of a week. Wow, that's like way more dedication than I would have. And then applied for the job. Some interviews and tests weeks later, I moved to Prague to work for Factorio, which is pretty awesome. So his main contribution to the game was a circuit network. So he pretty much fully added that, I believe. Main designer and coder. And then outside Factorio, he does anything a nerdy guy would do: 3D printing, flying quadcopters, and even building my own race drones. So I want to look at a few of these. Is that like a coaster, cracker? First thing I think is food. 3D printing, pretty freaking awesome. Quadcopters, dude, that's really cool. He has drone videos. You guys can check all this stuff out. Skateboard remote. That's really cool. These days he's going outside of my bubble and socializing, hopes of finding that special someone. So if you know someone, send her my way. That's all for now. I'm back to fixing a serious multiplayer issue, what we call the Mega Packet. Something I'll no doubt write about in a future Friday Facts once he figures everything out. That's awesome. Posila, first video games he was obsessed with were Sonic the Hedgehog on Sega, later on 90s games like City Builders, Tycoons, and stuff like that. And then he couldn't finish his degree in computer science and decided to leave university. Basically, he quit his job with a plan to make a jaw-dropping graphical demo that I could attach to my CV. I became a rank 68 monk in Greater Rift seasonal hardcore leaderboards. Dude, this is what's the Diablo 3, I believe, or just Diablo. I don't know if they had Greater Rifts in Diablo 2, but that's or is that another game? I mean, Greater Rift is a Diablo thing, so I'm pretty sure this is it. Hardcore is super hardcore though. He started playing Factorio in 0.11 and stuff, and then when playing Factorio, I like the progression where from nothing I build a huge factory. If something doesn't work, I can blame only myself. I don't like it when other humans mess with my stuff, though. And Oxid, I've been unreasonably drawn toward computers since I was a kid. At first, I'd spend most of my time playing games like Dune 2, Superplex, or F-19 Stealth Fighter. That sounds cool. Still have a thing for simulation and puzzle-style games. Later on, he discovered programming. When playing RTS games, he spends a lot of time working on my base and not focus enough on doing much actual battling. I can kind of understand that a bit. And then Rseding, he actually first saw Factorio when he was watching a stream on Twitch, and the guy was having issues with a mod. So basically, Rseding ended up buying Factorio just so he could try to fix the performance problem with the mod and stuff. And he found it a lot of fun. So after that, he heard from other modders that Wube was letting some of the more active mod developers have read access to source code. It sounded like a lot of fun, and so on and so forth, to where he joined the team. And he loves the fact that you can basically do almost exactly everything he wants with C++, and he just loves optimizing and stuff. So he's been with the team for 4 years and 304 days, which is pretty crazy. And yeah, so basically he just does what he loves. If when people ask him what does he do outside work, well, basically he loves doing this work, so that's just what he does. And that's awesome. And V, technical artist and a bit of game design. He played a lot of games since childhood, number one being Transport Tycoon, in more recent years, Age of Empires 2 HD, Borderlands 2, Doom, The Air Billions, and the iPad version of Roller Coaster Tycoon. I'm a little curious why he chose the iPad version of Roller Coaster Tycoon. Certainly not what I would have chosen, but I mean, Roller Coaster Tycoon is an awesome game. Just not sure why the iPad version. I feel like that'd be super hard to like build stuff with. And yeah, so he started creating mods for OpenTTD. As an artist, he enjoys automating as much as possible of the pipeline, as possible, and he loves writing Python scripts. He's mentioned that in several Friday Facts before. I think he also likes to play Factorio a lot. You guys, if you've seen some of my older videos, I've done at least 2 base tours of his with him there doing commentary, and they're just crazy. There's some of this base is his base, but like this poster, he's created some of the craziest spaghetti bases out there. It's ridiculous. So that's really cool. And then Clonin. When I was a young lad, I spent a lot of time playing Age of Empires 1 and 2, mostly in the scenario editor, trying to build the biggest and most defended base possible. I also remembers playing Red Alert 1 on PlayStation 1, just spending hours building turrets and impenetrable bases. So he worked in stock management for a large British development store, and then he got into Factorio from watching a YouTube video from Zisto, and he was instantly hooked. I became involved in writing some mods and snares, discussing the game on the forums and subreddit. When a position for community manager opened at the end of 2015, I applied for the job, and that's how I ended up here. It's also an interesting story. Clonin actually dabbled quite a bit in YouTube. I actually did, a long time ago, I did a series with Clonin and Fish Sandwich called Split Dependencies. And Clonin did other series on his own. Which is pretty awesome. So he was like, I interacted with him and stuff before he ever became a dev, and then he became a dev, and it was just really cool to just, see him be able to transition into actually being within the Factorio development team and stuff. And initially, his first stuff that he did when he joined was focusing on the prep for the Steam launch. Which is crazy to think that it's already been like 3 years almost since Factorio launched on Steam. And stuff. So he's distributing keys and, setting up the Steam store page. But over time, he's taken on other work, like producing the weekly Friday Facts. And then if you send an email to the team, he'll probably be the one who's your main point of contact. And also, he's pretty well known in the modding community. He makes a lot of really great mods too, which is awesome. And then Jitka, office manager. My favorite games growing up were 90s DOS games on floppy disks. Oh my gosh. It brought her back. It's hard to pick one, so here's a list. Prince of Persia, Prehistoric Winter and Summer Challenge, multiplayer ones like Bubble Bubble and Tunneler, later Civilization 1 and Transport Tycoon, and Superplex. I'll have to look this up because several of the devs have mentioned this. So basically, she takes care of a lot of broad range stuff, kind of like the team mommy. Does that make sense? That's probably the best description. Favorite thing about Factorio is the team behind it. Uh, and then outside of work, I spend my time traveling and being out in nature in general. Shame the world is too big to cover everything in a single lifetime. Uh, and then Ernestas, his favorite games were Stronghold, Crusader, Age of Empires, Cossacks, American Conquest, Red Alert 2, Command and Conquer. And then actually, before he worked at Factorio, he studied maritime at a maritime academy to be an engineer, which is pretty cool. At the beginning, he was mainly responsible for all of the development, all of the environment and decorations and background for the game, which is pretty cool. And before working at Wube, my favorite part of the game was adventure, exploring, finding new resource patches, finding better or more compact ways to build something, etc. And then Waybags. My favorite games from my childhood are probably this original Spyro trilogy, especially 3, and later RPGs like Fable and Oblivion. The Elder Scrolls series was a major influence for him. The first hint of I want to make games was a vague idea that it would have been amazing to be on the Oblivion team working on miscellaneous quests. So he's actually from Dublin, Ireland, which is pretty awesome, and worked for a company making tools for texture authoring in video games. I'm having some issues talking today. He's been at Wube since 2017, and he's currently working on campaigns, both the introduction and main campaigns. Favorite part about Factorio is the ability to induce a state of flow. People often joke about how they sit down to play an hour or two in the evening and it's suddenly 2 a.m. And I think the main reason for this is how easy it is to slip into a flow rate when you're playing, for sure. And then Dominic, first game I ever played was Commander Keen 4. I don't think I've ever heard of that. It was on my grandmother's beefed up PC, which is rare at the time as it was shortly after the fall of communism, but she worked at the technical university. The golden age was high school with a lot of StarCraft and the same insane Doom 2 tournaments, which is awesome. As a developer, he does the same as everybody, a bit of everything, bug fixing, but 2 areas he focuses on are fluids and GUIs. So yeah, when we get in that fluid optimization, or balancing. I like seeing how everything, all the layers come together to create the game. You see all things moving and interacting on the screen, but it is a result of layers of very complicated mechanisms underneath. It amazes him seeing how complicated and fragile it is inside, especially with all the mods. Yeah, I bet. And man, just like, for me personally, I would absolutely love to work at Wube. Like, that would be amazing. I've wanted to work at Wube since, like, shortly after I started playing Factorio. But unfortunately, I don't have any programming knowledge. I feel like as someone who's played for a super long time, I definitely have like some like insights into like game balance and stuff, and ideas for the game and such. And like as a YouTuber, I have kind of a different connection with the community, but unfortunately, I don't think they really pay for that or interested in that. I don't know. It'd be like so cool though. To be able to join the team. So like I'm definitely envious of these guys like Clonin and stuff like that who like started playing the game and are seeding and then were able to actually join the team. Abregado, player experience and level design. So my version of growing up with video games took place in the 90s. Most games were one-time affairs, so when there was a title which had massive replayability, it really stuck. Master Orient 1 and 2, Populous and Wing Commander, and doing Quake mods at LAN parties. He's a huge advocate for using games in education, which is awesome. He started with the team in 2018 to build a new scenario that would act as both a demo and tutorial. Plans for a campaign of larger scope came together shortly after. The favorite part of the game is how scriptable it is. There's a crazy amount of stuff you can do with it. They've seen Dota, MMOs, RPGs, and survival games, all made from the humble Factorio engine. And then Bilka. I remember sinking hours of my childhood in developing my cities in Die Siedler something. A German part of the Settlers game series. Okay. Settlers is a really cool game. Minecraft was another game that caught my attention growing up. I still occasionally play it, nowadays heavily modded. He found Factorio shortly after Steam release and played the game on and off for about a year until I graduated high school. After that, I spent more time playing the game and became a wiki admin. Over the next year, I got involved in modding and was granted access to the source code of the game. This increase in involvement ended up getting me hired as a wiki admin and I became part of the team. Again, another example, I think it's awesome, where he did a lot of like community stuff and such like that, and then actually got to be on the team, which is just awesome. When he first joined, he kept doing the wiki admin work that he'd already been doing. As time went on, I became interested in programming, so he started working on small modding interfaces, requests to get to know C++. Likes to challenge his skills. Factorio is a great game, but the best part of it is a community that grew around it. I like helping beginners, following the planning behind mega bases, learning from experienced modders, and racing against time together with speedrunners. Yeah, he's a pretty well-known member in the Team SteelX Anti-Elites team. And then Soky, DevOps. So his favorite games were Cave Story, Doom, Legend of Zelda, Link's Awakening. He did Minecraft quite a lot as well. He's also a fan of obscure games. Enjoys tinkering and seeing how things work behind the scenes. He's also a bit of a digital historian and archivist. I take part in the archive team where we worked hard to preserve websites which are at risk, which is pretty cool. He joined the team a little over a year ago and is responsible for the technical side of the website, the mod portal, the forums, etc. And occasionally help playtest. And then Zopa. He was a child. There were not many games in the Czech Republic, but one of the first games I have played, and I remember, was Wolf and Eggs. It's an arcade old school. That's really funny. Oh my gosh. He studied High School of Graphics Academy of Arts in Prague. He's been working in graphic design for 30 years. You can find my website here, specializing in creating a visual identity of companies and brand design. Always interested to see what graphic designers have in their portfolios. Pretty cool stuff. And then lastly, we have Dominic. His favorite games are probably games he played with his brother. This includes a ton of Donkey Kong Country and Super Mario for the SNES. I love the look and feel of pre-rendered sprites in Donkey Kong. Understandable why I love Factorio art so much. And then he went to art school in Vienna. In my graduation year, a friend of mine and I got heavily invested in Factorio, and we would spend more time playing the game instead of actually working on our grad film. We set up meetings to work on our project and worked a bit, and would then spend the whole evening playing Factorio. That's awesome. He joined Factorio in late 2018, so he's quite new. And he works here as a VFX artist alongside some other things. Primarily, it needs to be bleeding, oozing, vomiting, or exploding. That's basically my bit in the team. So like enemies and stuff, which is pretty cool. His favorite part of the game is the art style. It reminds me of 90 games. It gives me a very nostalgic feel. Another great aspect is the teamwork. When a friend and I had play sessions, we would draw up plans and ideas in Photoshop and send them to each other. So that's really cool. This was still a very long video, even though I summarized quite a bit and just hit a few points. So if you want all of the information, definitely go check it out. Really, really cool. I like what they did here, just giving you more information about their team. Very few game developers will actually do this, give you such insight into their team and inner workings and stuff. And that's just part of what makes the Factorio team so unique and so great. So I think that's going to do it, guys. Leave your thoughts below. Go read it yourself for sure if you're interested in more. And this is really cool. Maybe one day I'll be qualified in some way to join the team. That would be awesome. But anyway, that's going to do it, guys. Take care. Have a great rest of your day. And until next time, I will catch you later.